Hello everyone, welcome back to another Minecraft update video. Today's snapshot will be one to remember because they've added something into this game I never would have even guessed we would see. And just last video, we were speculating that we're going to get more animal variants, and that could be the case with future snapshots for this drop because yes, it is going to be a drop. So that means that 25W03A is for 1.21.5. So, new tools for testing the game have been added into the game itself. And here some context is required because one of the former developers of the game actually showed us this process. Mojang have these testing worlds where they have a combination of command blocks, structure blocks, and beacons in order to conduct tests on certain mechanics of the game. The footage that you're watching is from a video that I'll link in the description box down below, but it showcases how there are lots of different tests that they want to conduct over and over again as they update the code, because that can break all sorts of different things. And so by opening this world, they get a whole bunch of green beacons everywhere that indicate that these tests have been conducted successfully. And let's say that a test fails, then the beacon beam is going to turn red, and this brings the attention of that issue to the developer. They can go over and see what game mechanic has been changed by some of the code that they've just changed. So those tools for checking features and consistent gameplay with all the changes that they're making, they've been brought into the game, and you can actually find these new blocks that replace the command block and structure block and beacon inside of operator utilities. Here they are, test block, instance, and then 4 different test blocks. These 4 blocks are actually the same block. When we open up the interface, you can see that we're in start mode. If we switch to log mode for logging messages, it changes to this texture. Fail mode is this texture for indicating we have failed the test. And the other one is accept for successful tests. Now the test instant block is kind of like a structure block. Inside of here, you can define the size of a structure. You can give it a name, and certain details are printed into this box here. You have the ability to then save your structure and run a test. Now this is where things get a little bit disappointing because there is only one test packaged into the game, and it's called always pass, and it's just here to sort of demonstrate how it works. So when we click run test, it will pass that test and we will get our green beacon beam. It's kind of unfortunate that all of the tests that Mojang conduct on the game aren't in this snapshot, but maybe they're coming in a future one. I would love for us to be able to have access for that. I think it would be great for bug reporting, but also for mods as well, because I think that this might extend to mod functionality, giving modders the tools to kind of check the compatibility of their changes with the existing vanilla game. There is a ton of documentation on the website related to this feature. If you're interested in using it, be sure to give it a read. There is a lot to learn about, including a test command, which is a part of this new feature, and it's got tons of parameters. There is also a parameter for a server that can start it up in testing mode, so it will just start up the server and conduct all available tests it can find. So as of right now, it looks like one can build their own tests. Like I mentioned though, all of the ones that Mojang use are absent. I'd really love to see what those tests are and mess around with them. But hey, fingers crossed, we might see more coming to these snapshots in the future. Let's now turn attention to a tweet from one of the developers that I actually showed you in the previous update video we did. It seems that these name-driven textures are now a part of the game. Let's go ahead and rename this. Gonna call this one Dagger. What about the Fire Dagger? Yep, look at those animations. That's awesome. And last of all, the Emerald Sword. I think this one might need some rotation. This looks a little funky. But dang, it's a good example. And this resource pack was made by DM Gaming. So shout out, thank you for making these wonderful textures. And I have another resource pack to show you, which was made possible by this snapshot. If we go into food and drink and scroll downwards, you'll see that potions have their own textures based on what potion type they are. And I gotta say, this is unbelievably cool. Look at that one, oozing. Yeah, I think that one and Bad Omen has got to be my favorite. I like the way the red material around the bottle, it gets increased with each increasing level of Bad Omen. And I like the honey bottle too. These are really cute and cool textures, and they're animated. So big thanks to Shrimp Snail or Shrimp Snail. I'm not sure which way to say it. Thank you for sharing the resource pack. Now, the ability to change the texture based on which enchantment it has isn't working in this snapshot, but it's been acknowledged and it might be in a future one. Also, I really like that bottle of enchanting texture. We also have some other under the hood changes known as entity variant components. This creates a whole bunch of new parameters for mobs in the game that have different variants. And it makes things like this possible. The axolotl bucket texture can now be individualized based on what type of axolotl it has. Now, it seems that Mojang have focused most of their efforts this week on getting that testing infrastructure into place. So now let's get to some smaller changes related to gameplay. In this snapshot, you can now use bone meal in the meadows biome to obtain the wildflower. All right, it doesn't happen every single time. I just want to get this on camera. There you go. Did that one just pop in? Yep, a couple of them popped in there. There have been quite a few changes to saddles. Specifically, naming a saddle can now retain that name when it drops from an animal. So here we go. Subscribe. Yes, that's my subscribe plug. Killing an innocent little piggy. But yeah, the point is that the saddle retained its custom name. Likewise, the saddle is going to retain other data like attribute modifiers. Let's go ahead and put this saddle on the piggy. Maybe give it a nudge. Okay, I think a potato. Oh, no, wait, we didn't need a potato. Guess what modifier that guy's got? Whoo, he's going bananas. This is the speed modifier. So when I hold it, I can move really fast as well. There's been lots of under the hood changes related to saddles, and this means that each entity that has its own saddle now has its own separate texture for the saddle. This does mean that for some entities, the saddle texture used to be a part of the entity texture and it's been separated out. And because of that, all the different variants of horse can't have their own unique saddle texture based on what horse they are now. And by the way, there were tons of bugs related to saddles in this update. It seems like they focused on that to clear up a whole bunch of stuff at the same time. And a bug related to leaf litter was its ability to replace leaf blocks when being generated in a world. Leaf litter can also now be composted. And I've been over most of the bugs in this update, and it doesn't feel like there's anything else really worth mentioning. That being said, in Minecraft news, there are some leaks that have been discussed for quite a few days now. They were linked by King Dark on Twitter. These are essentially leaks for a possible new UI that is coming to the Bedrock edition of the game. This is quite a clean new aesthetic, and if we zoom in on the apple, you can see that the number count has a new font for the number. Now, when it comes to those other screenshots, we can see that a barrel has been given a custom color, which kind of matches that of the barrel. Then we've got one for the shulker box, the ender chest, and last of all, a regular chest, which is a double one here. This is a decent, clean new look. I hope it will be coming to both Java and Bedrock if they do decide to change it. But the thing I'm most hopeful about, and I'm not going to speculate on for too long, is how the container that you're interacting with will now be on the side of the screen and not attached to the inventory like it is here. So going back to that image, you could now see how the inventory could have even more slots, as by putting the container side by side with it, we free up a lot more real estate on the screen. I am really wishing that this means they're laying the groundwork to at least add some additional slots to the inventory. It is not a long-term solution for all of the clutter that all these new blocks and features bring with every update, but it will certainly help. It could only get worse to remove slots, right? So adding a few more can only do some good in my opinion. Right, but that's it for this snapshot video. As you saw, it was mostly about bringing in the test feature, so I reckon we'll see some more gameplay stuff added in the next one. But that's it from me. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next week with another. Bye-bye.